Wake up, sports fans. It's time for the weekend wake up. I am Vito Avenanti. You can also see Matt Moore on your screen. If you'd like to join the show, you can do so on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search my name, Vito Avenanti, to subscribe to the page. You can do it on Twitch, twitch.tv/VJA Sports Media. And you can do so on Facebook, facebook.com/Weekend Wake Up Show. Obviously, you can see it's just myself and Matt. Kyrie may be joining the show as we go along, whether he actually joins us live on video or whether he joins us in the comments. We haven't figured out yet, but he may be available for some of the show. We have a shortened version of the Weekend Wake Up today. We are going to talk Chicago Cubs and Chicago White Sox, also some general Major League Baseball issues that have been going on recently. And we have a new segment. It is called Unsanctioned Buffoonery, and it is basically what the name implies, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But I want to thank everyone for joining us. If you're joining us right now on YouTube, on Twitch, or on Facebook, thank you for doing so. Be sure to join the conversation as well. You can join us on Twitter at KDThompson5, at Sports with More, and at VJA Sports Media, and you might be able to see in the background. You can see Jen and Penelope. Penelope wanted to be a part of the show today. So say hello, Penelope.
The show just got so much better.
Yeah, 100%. That pretty much is the highlight of the show for any of you tuning in.
It's all downhill from here, I promise.
If the number of people that are currently watching drops, I will completely understand after that. Let's jump right in, Matthew. The Cubs are contenders. They have the best record in baseball since April 29th, which is a bit confusing. Overall, 36-27. They are currently tied with the Brewers after the Brewers played last night at the top of the Central. And here's some interesting. So they had kind of a hiccup last week where they lost 3 of 4 to the Giants. They went out on the road, lost 3 of 4 to the Giants. But against the Mets, Dodgers, Padres, and Cardinals, they are 14-2 going into tonight's action against the Cardinals. All of those teams were, in my opinion, expected to be exponentially better than the Cubs were this year. And if you look at some of the individual stats, you're looking at Chris Bryant, the Chris Bryant of 2015, 2016. He's batting over 300, 16 doubles, 13 homers, 38 RBIs. I mean, I could throw numbers out all day for what Chris Bryant is currently doing. And the other key is, he's barely played third base. I mean, they've had him in right, in left, in center. He's played first base. I mean,
this guy can do it all. He's done it all this year. I don't know where they'd be without him. Obviously, we could spend all day talking about contracts, but if there's a guy that's earning his money right now, it's Chris Bryant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to completely agree with you. You've got other guys, Baez. Baez's average is 236. But he's hit 14 homers, 39 RBIs. He's Javi Baez right now. He's probably going to hit 240 to 260 for his entire career every year. But he's going to hit you 25 homers, 30 homers, and he's going to get you some RBIs. Anthony Rizzo has actually worked his way back to a 268 average after a pretty horrible start with 12 doubles. And the starting pitching has been better than it was for a good stretch of April. The piecemeal pen has been kind of impressive. You've got guys in there that you don't even know. You've never even heard of half of these guys.
And I think that's been the key, right? That pen has been lights out. Whether that's long term, I don't think so. But really, I think that's the key. Obviously, the offense has been producing a little bit better. But that bullpen, man, you can't say enough. Like Craig Kimbrell, 16 of 18 saves with a .69 ERA. That's the guy they thought they were getting when they acquired him. And I was at Craig Kimbrell's first game as a Cub right after they got him. And that's the guy you thought you were getting. It's just a shame that At the end of the day, is this going to be sustainable? What's the end goal? And I know that
and that's what I wanted to get to, Matt. The overarching question here is, who is this team? Because we went into the season. Look, I'm a Cubs fan. Okay, I'm not going to tell you otherwise. I'm a fan of good baseball, and at the beginning of this season, I was not sure the Cubs were going to give good baseball. We were not going to watch good baseball on the north side, and most of April was not good baseball. There were games that the Cubs were losing, and they looked like the 2012, 2013
and
Cubs
that's when
in
they
some
went
ways.
through, they went through that stretch where they couldn't hit a beach ball, right? And that's
Yeah.
kind of, and again, we've seen that from the Cubs from years past. They've fixed that a little bit, but again, yeah, who is this team? What is this team? I don't know what they do. I mean, obviously they're in contention right now, so I would have to believe that they're going to go out and make some moves. You got to get some pitching, but I think the real thing, the Cardinals have been banged up. They're starting pitching, they're injured. So I think once they get back healthy, are the Cubs going to be enough? Are they going to have enough to kind of ride this out? I mean, they're kind of neck and neck with Milwaukee right now. I don't think, honestly, and I'm a Cubs fan too, and it's probably all you guys do is talk down on them. No, I'm just being real. I don't think they have enough to sustain this. It's fun. It's fun that both Chicago teams are in first and they're playing well. It's fun, but is it long-term sustainable? I don't think so. I think they're going to come back down to earth, especially with that starting pitching. This bullpen, you're going to tax that bullpen. They're going to fizzle out. I don't know how they continue to go at this pace.
Well, and I mean, to your point, we're both Cubs fans. We get a lot of crap because we do talk about the negative with the Cubs, but when the negative outweighs,
reality. It's just
right,
reality.
And that's the point. You and I have had this conversation before about just being realistic. Like, you can be a fan, but also be realistic about what your fandom entails and what your team is doing. And in reality, in the offseason, the Cubs were going backwards. They were doing, and we talked about this before. We talked about this, you, myself, Kyrie, where the Cubs did, for lack of a better term, a half-assed sort of rebuild in the offseason.
They can't commit to it. They can't commit to what they're doing, and they still can't. And this is why I love this position that they're in, because it's going to force them to pick a lane. Are you trying to contend? Are you going to go out and add? Or are you finally going to reveal your cards that, no, you're just trying to rebuild, so let's make some trades and get rid of the guys? Comes at a bad timing now that you have the park reopened, so people are going to be spending their money to come back out there. So you can't use that excuse. And I've always thought that was a lame excuse. I get it. COVID happened. Every team is having these problems. You're a top 3 market team. It's not an excuse. You're the the crying poor is ridiculous.
We don't have any money because we put it all into this stadium and we bought up all this land outside and we bought these buildings. Okay, but you're making money off of those buildings.
Yeah.
You're making money off of the stadium. I don't want to hear about, we don't have any money, we're crying poor. The issue here is, and I think that personally, this is horrible for this organization. And here's why. Because they're going to keep this up where they win 6 of 10 or 7 of 10 until like mid-July. And the front office won't be able to trade anyone. So here's where they screwed up. They traded Yu Darvish, right? And you looked at it and you said, if you're trading Yu Darvish, you also need to trade Chris Bryant, whoever. I don't think they should trade Wilson Contreras, but there was talk about Wilson Contreras. There was talk about, maybe Craig Kimbrell, all this other stuff. What they've done is they half-assed it. They traded, Yu Darvish and complained, well, we don't have any money. This is what we have to do.
Traded him for nothing.
They kept the core, well, for some lottery tickets.
Well, exactly.
They kept the core of a team that could kind of, especially in this Central Division, could kind of keep pace. So now you put yourself in a position where you had a core that's probably not good enough to win anything substantial, but a core that's also not bad enough to lose enough games for you to just all out sell everything. So you put yourself in this position. The front office isn't going to trade anybody now. The team will taper off because that's how they're kind of built, and they'll get nothing for the assets they have, who are going to leave in free agency at the end of the season. And it's going to set the organization back 5 years because now you're losing the talent that you did have for nothing. And you got nothing in return for any of these guys. And I think that's the bigger problem. I don't think this is sustainable, just like you don't think it's sustainable. But the bigger problem is it's probably sustainable just long enough for them not to do anything and be and be stuck in purgatory.
And it's sustainable enough because of the division they play in. That division's garbage, so they're aided by that. But again, it's not going to mean anything. And I think I saw I think Fangraphs gave them a 1% or less than a 1% chance to win the World Series. I mean, we talk about this all the time. What's
is that bad?
I don't. I mean, you're telling me there's a chance, right? So what's the end goal? I mean, we've seen sports shift with this, and the Cubs were kind of the first to do this, right? We know that we're not going to be good, so screw it. We're going to blow it all up. We're going to start over because we know where we want to go. We know what the absolute end goal is, and now it's like they're lost for the team that started doing it. It's almost comical to me that this is where they find themselves. And again, let's go back. Theo knew this, and he was like, "All right, I'm out.
And I mean, he's going to use the excuse. Well, I said, I told you get stale after 10 years. So
absolutely not, man. He knew what this season was, and he's like, I can't do this, and he's out. So it's going to be interesting. I think you're right. For the team as a whole, for the long-term future of the team, it's terrible. But maybe in some sick, twisted way, it's going to be funny to me because this is the position that they've painted themselves in, the corner that they've backed themselves into in, and now it's like their worst nightmare playing out. It's funny as hell because
would you expect anything different from the Chicago Cubs?
Are you going to drop me a That's Cub?
Hashtag That's Cub. If you're just joining the show, I want to thank you for doing so. This is the Weekend Wake Up. We're talking sports. My name is Matt. My name's not Matt Moore. My name is Vito Evenanti. That is Matt Moore. You're welcome. It's one of those mornings. I want to thank you.
Burgundy moment, if I've ever seen one.
Yes, I'm Ron Burgundy. If you'd like to join the conversation, you can do so on YouTube. Go to YouTube and search my name, Vito Evenanti, to subscribe. You can hear my daughter, Penelope, screaming in the background. She said, sign up. Is that what she said? No. Follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/Weekend Wake Up Show, and follow the show on Twitch, twitch.tv/VJA Sports Media. You can actually talk to all of us on Twitter. Kyrie is not here today, but he may be joining the show a little later. At KD Thompson 5, at Sports with More. That's for the other guy, Matt Moore, not this Matt Moore. Apparently, that's who I am now.
Are you the football playing Matt Moore, or the baseball playing Matt Moore, or the?
I wish I had that. I wish I had that video queued up of Matt Moore just getting the other Matt Moore just getting absolutely crushed.
So, like, real talk, like, do you know that I got like well wishes after that? Like, legit well wishes. Not people that thought like they were playing a joke, like trying to be funny. No, like I got people actually reached out to me. Because I think I posted it or somebody.
That's incredible.
And people actually reached out worried about me, so I appreciate the concerns there.
When the topic we were just talking about was the Cubs. Anthony joins the conversation on Facebook. So sad how the Cubs turned out. It's funny that this is how we all kind of think about a current first place team. But
again, because we all know it's smoke and mirrors right now.
100%, and it's not sustainable. And they're gonna end up stuck in purgatory. It's gonna be that thing like the Bulls were doing for a couple years, where it was like not good enough to do anything useful. Maybe they'll get the 8 seed, but what good does that do them? Well, they're gonna get blown out in the first round, and if they don't make the playoffs, they're not getting the top 4 picks. So who cares? Like that was 6 years for the Bulls.
And the parallel that I was going to make is this going to be like a Bears situation where maybe somehow they sneak into the playoffs and then they just shout that from the high heavens of look we made the playoffs and we had to battle with COVID and we had to deal with all this and we still somehow found a way to make the playoffs.
Well, if anything, and I know Anthony will attest to this because I know how huge of a fan of this guy he is, we can just hope that for the Cubs' sake, monetarily, that Jason Hayward goes on fire so that they can trade him, because Anthony's been wanting him traded since probably about 3 hours after they signed him. So
yeah, I could spend the rest of the show. I don't want to defend that signing, but I don't understand people's reaction.
I still don't have a problem with it. You know why? Because they won a World Series. Well, I don't have a problem with it.
You bought the guy with his stats out there. It's not like he was some machine that was raking before he came. Did he have a good year with the Cardinals? Okay, yeah, but you overpaid for him, and you knew that you overpaid for him.
Yeah, but okay, guys his age, I can't believe we're going down this rabbit hole. Guys his age don't become free agents. guys that are elite defenders who still can hit. I understand he had just some awful regular seasons with the Cubs, and he's shown like he goes through phases where he rips the cover off the ball for 3 weeks, and then he ends up going 0 for 17 with 15 groundouts to the second baseman. I get it. I understand. I think his swing is still way too long, and all of these things that we think about Jason Heyward. But the point is, whether he was the one piece or whether he was a piece of the whole puzzle that got them to win the World Series, he was signed basically because he was young enough to be, hey, we're going to get this guy for 8 years or whatever, but he was old enough to be a veteran presence on that team, and that's exactly what he was. Whether he gave the speech or not, I don't care.
You also took him away from the Cardinals as well. I always feel
like exactly.
And as far as Anthony says, worst contract ever, I think I'll put the Brent Seabrook contract above that one, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I get everything Anthony's saying. That's exactly why I brought it up, because I knew Anthony was going to go off on a rant here on Facebook. But the point is, look, it's a bad contract. We get that. And I've said this flat out. No one's ever going to live up to these contracts. Millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. No one's ever going to live up to them. If anyone has been worse than expectations, even not living up to a contract, it's been Jason Heyward. But part of Jason Heyward's signing brought them a World Series title. And so I can't knock it for that.
Yeah,
the Seabrook signing, your point, that was a signing that took place after they had already won titles.
That was a thank you contract.
100%. And that's a problem. When you start paying guys for thank yous when they hit 32 or 30 or whatever it is, you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
All right, we should probably get off the Jason Heyward.
Anthony, I'm gonna throw Anthony's up here. Yeah, you get paid to hit and field. This guy's making $20 million because he can play defense. Awesome, good job. I got Anthony all riled up. I got myself all riled up. All we had to do was talk about Jason Heyward. I knew Anthony was going to get all fired up too. Speaking of all riled up, and I think this is just a more recent thing. I'm just going to ask you a quick question. So Anthony Rizzo went on Chicago radio yesterday, actually, and said he's one of the guys who didn't get the COVID vaccine. Now, I'm going to ask you a question here, how you feel about this, but okay, I'm vaccinated. I don't care what you think about that. And I don't mean you. I mean just people in general. I don't care what people think about that. I'm vaccinated. A lot of people are vaccinated. And there's a bunch of people who have decided not to get vaccinated. And my belief on that aside, the reason I'm going to preface my question with some information here is because Anthony Rizzo is obviously a cancer survivor. He probably still talks to his doctors pretty frequently. And I assume his doctors had some sort of information to give him, and then they collectively made a choice for him not to get vaccinated. My question to you, though, is, do you, just as a guy, as a fan, as someone who talks sports, weekly on a little, sports talk show, do you have an issue with Anthony Rizzo not getting vaccinated?
Yes and no, and I'm not trying to sidestep this.
Sounds like a hedge.
But I will say this. I don't know what his doctors told him. I don't know the reasoning of why he didn't get it. It puzzles me that a guy that is a cancer survivor wouldn't be on the forefront of medicine trying to get that done. My personal feelings on it, go get the damn shot. Everybody wants their life back together. Everybody wants things back to normal. Go get the damn shot. You have fans in the stands now. You have reporters. And if you want to bring this, and again, you mentioned it, we're a little podcast, we do whatever. People can't cover this team because they can't be around the team because they're not above that threshold. Go get the shot. Again, I don't know. If there's obviously some life-altering chances that if he gets this shot, which I don't know where he's getting this information from, I don't know where his doctors are getting this from. At the end of the day, it's his decision. But I'd be lying if I'd be saying if I wasn't disappointed at him that he hasn't gotten it, and that he also went on the radio and said that he didn't get it. because now everybody that's justified themselves of not getting this shot is going to have that excuse. Like, I don't get it. You are a guy that's in children's hospitals with children's cancer patients, and you're not going to get that shot. And again, I'm not putting this on his shoulders, but you are an example. You are in the spotlight, and you just made it okay to not go out and get this shot. So personally, yes, I have a problem with it.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, look, we don't know what his doctor told him. We don't know what he said to his doctor. We don't know what his doctor told him. The consensus is these vaccines are safe. The medical consensus is these vaccines are safe. You're going to find outlier doctors that are going to tell you otherwise, and that's fine. I get all that. But to your secondary point, you, Anthony Rizzo, have a responsibility. And while you have a responsibility to yourself, first and foremost, and to your family, you also have a responsibility as a cancer survivor with a foundation where you visit, other cancer survivors or people who have cancer, who are immunocompromised, and so on and so forth. And I think that's the bigger issue for me. Again, you can argue all day these goofy arguments about, my body, my choice, and all the rest of this, and what that applies to, because people want it to apply to certain things but not to other things, which we will talk about on a completely different show. But the issue of, and I hate to say this, because I've had this conversation, and I've actually gone back and forth on this as well. But whether you want to be or not, as a professional athlete, you are a role model. And Anthony Rizzo is double the role model because he's a cancer survivor. So,
Vito, and I started thinking about this, and I almost wonder if this is contract driven. That maybe he's going to go get the shot, but he's not going to get it until after the season is over, because he doesn't want it to affect him on the field. Because I don't think he flat out came out and said, I'm not going to get it. He just came out and said, I haven't gotten it yet. I'm still waiting for more information. I don't understand what more information that he would need. I'm pretty sure that it's all out there. The vaccine's been out for 3 months now? I mean, I'm pretty sure whatever he needs to find out is there. I'm assuming he's got smart doctors around him. What I'm wondering is he, and I don't know all the facts on this. I don't know, as a cancer survivor, are the side effects of that shot, do they linger? Are they going to affect his play on the field? And then are those going to go into his contract that he wants to sign? Because he wants to get paid. So if he comes out and he can't perform because he has side effects, that's going to, and I use this term very loosely, affect his livelihood. So I almost wonder if that's hey, Anthony, the shot is safe, but you might experience some side effects that can linger. I mean, look at was it Yohan Moncada when he actually got the virus last year? Even he came out. I'm not saying that it's getting the virus, but
there's a difference there.
Exactly.
You've seen long-term effects from people actually getting coronavirus or COVID.
Exactly.
Not
again,
so much from the vaccine itself. Yeah, a couple days, okay, sore arm, whatever. But
yeah, but
I think personally, I think you know what affects his livelihood more? Having a bad back. That's just me. I mean, there's plenty of guys. Let me ask you this: there's plenty of guys in the league who have been vaccinated. Now we don't know who has, we don't know who hasn't, but have any of them complained about, well, I'm garbage on the field now because I got vaccinated?
No, but
you know what I'm saying? And again, yeah, I preface all this by saying I understand it's Anthony Rizzo speaking to his doctor, making those decisions. He's a cancer survivor. There are extenuating circumstances here. I'm just saying, I don't see it personally. I don't see where this comes from.
Neither do I. But I'm trying to logically put this together, like what would stop him from doing it. That's
you're
digging
yourself down a rabbit hole that I don't know.
That's really the only thing that I can come up with, man. Is that maybe he was told that, look, these side effects could linger and this could.
Sure.
Yeah. So do I agree with it? Hell no. Go get the damn shot. I don't care what. This isn't political. This isn't anything. If you want life back to normal, it's pretty simple. Go get the vaccine so all these businesses in the cities, everything can open back up.
Yep, you're right. If you're joining the show, this is the Weekend Wake Up. We're talking sports and maybe a little COVID somehow. But my name is Vito Abenanti. That is Matt Moore. You can join the conversation on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, all over the place. Anthony has been joining the conversation all morning. Danny Ames has been on here as well. I want to thank everyone for jumping on. If you're just watching or if you're actually jumping into the comments, we appreciate all of it, and that's how we keep this thing going. Let's switch gears. We're still going to talk baseball, but we're going to talk about the White Sox. The first place Chicago White Sox. They kind of tapered off a little, 6-4 in their last 10. As of Friday morning, I didn't look at what happened last night.
They won an extras yesterday.
They won an extra, so that might have changed. But their hitting has been, kind of up and down. And it won't help that Nick Madrigal went on the 60-day DL or IL. Sorry, MLB. I didn't call it the DL. On the 60-day IL with a hamstring tear, and he's out until probably the end of the season.
I was going to say, they're saying that might be season ending for him.
Yeah, I mean, and he joins Luis Robert and Eloy Jimenez as guys out till at least September. I mean, those were, I don't know about Madrigal. I don't know how much was expected of him, but I know that Robert and Jimenez a lot was expected of them this year. And then you add what Madrigal was doing, whether it was expected or not. And you kind of have, you're talking about 3 starters who are no longer in the lineup. Now, Yoan Moncada and Yermin Mercedes have kind of tapered off. Yermin Mercedes obviously went on that huge tear to start his White Sox career. They both dropped below 300. They still have over 30 RBIs each. Tim Anderson is also batting just below 300. Abreu's batting average not great, but he's got 11 homers and 48 RBI. I mean, he's not having an MVP type season again, but he's still pretty much carrying their offense. And before I get to the starting pitching, which has been pretty good, I want to focus a little on the offense and the guys that I just mentioned: Abreu, Anderson, Moncada. I'm not going to put Mercedes in there because, who knows? Rookie, obviously he's 28, 29 years old. There's a reason he's probably not sustaining what he was doing initially.
You would assume that people are trying to figure out how to pitch to him, or they're starting to figure it out.
Right. And so the main guys, Moncada, Abreu, and Anderson. Can the offense be carried by just these 3 guys for long enough to keep them in first and continue the solid season they're having so far?
I would think so, but I don't think it's because the offense has to carry them. They have great starting pitching. They have the bullpen that has obviously the potential to be one of the best today. I know they've struggled. They don't have to. Can they? Sure. Do they need to? No. Tell me what other team, and Vito, I know that you love run differential. They still have a plus 90 run differential. They're second only to the Dodgers, so they can still put runs on the board.
Please no.
The good thing is, I just wanted to point it out. They can still, and all I'm using it as is they can still put runs on the board. Okay, I know I was going to trigger you. Here's where you get triggered because I mentioned run differential, but they can still hit. Obviously, I don't know if they can afford any more injuries. I don't know who else is going to hit. If God forbid, if like Tim Anderson goes down or somebody, but they still have the pitching. They still have the bullpen that has the potential to be well. I think they're going to be okay because who in that division? Who in that division scares you? Cleveland?
It was supposed to be the Twins, and they were hot garbage for 3 months. Nobody.
They're going to have to get healthy for their run. Like, don't get me wrong.
To your point, it's like the NL Central. They're not in a very good division, so they should be able to stay above water, and they should be able. But again, we spent 3 shows talking about how their manager is losing them games. Like, you can't afford stuff like that to continue. Has it happened recently? Not really, but you can't lose 5 games a year or 7 games a year from your manager alone, particularly when you're missing 3/5 of the big hitters in your lineup, the expected lineup.
Yeah, no, and look, we could go back on the Tony La Russa thing. I think we're all on record saying that we weren't a fan of it. I don't really think our generation of fans was a fan of the signing because he just doesn't connect well with those players.
I
And
don't
he's
think
shown it.
any generation of fans outside
No,
of
dude,
Jerry
there's some old
Reinsdorf
heads.
himself.
Dude, no, there's some old heads out there that defend him because their narrative is that the narrative that he's a bad manager was made by the media. So congrats, we had some influence.
Boy, here we go. We had some
influence. But again, I mean, look, we've talked about this, man. They're good enough to win in spite of a manager, and especially in baseball. I get what you're saying. Like, you can't cost a team 5 to 7 wins, but you can also win in spite of them, and that's what they've been doing. So I'm not worried about Tony La Russa. Is Tony La Russa. He's going to Tony La Russa.
Let me ask you this. We're talking about winning in spite of the manager. A lot of it has been Lance Lynn. A lot of it has been Carlos Rodon. And more recently, Dallas Keuchel has looked pretty good. Dylan Cease has been serviceable. Like, their starting pitching has been pretty good. Their bullpen was a little shaky there for a while. But, look, if you have good starting pitching and these guys go 6-7 innings, you're shortening the game.
We talked about this, right? We talked about this when they made all these signings. That starting rotation was made for the playoffs. Was exactly made for the playoffs. And I don't think you're going to be putting up, 7-8 runs a game in the playoffs. Those games are different. So they obviously, I think they need to take care of their business first. They need to win that division, which I don't see a reason why they won't. Get those guys back healthy. I think they'll be fine. Am I worried if they keep?
Well, yeah, but those guys back healthy aren't coming back until September.
Well, it's what I'm.
But that's maybe, and that's, for who was it? For Eloy? You're talking what he tears pec, and you're talking Robert, who needs to. He's got a leg injury or he's got a hip injury. So you're talking about someone who's going to have to. That's when he's going to be able to start rehab. Maybe they're hoping. So
you're going to have to lean on that pitching. That's.
I don't know. I think the expectations have to be lowered for what this team can accomplish. Well, look, they might still have the hitting. They might still have the starting pitching. We talked about it. Rick Hahn, he built a playoff starting pitching staff.
Well, do you think, they're going to have to go out and get somebody? They're going to have to go out and make a trade and go get a bat.
As a hitter, you mean?
Yeah, they're going to have to go get a bat, man. That's what they're going to have to do. I don't know what that package looked like. I haven't looked at that. I don't exactly know who's out there to go get. I know
Chris Bryant.
I was just going to say that. I know the Chris Bryant thing was out there, but I don't see that happening because, stupid. You can't trade to your rival. And I'm glad that I can put this on camera because it's garbage because they're not rivals. But
I don't know, that Bob Howry trade worked out really well years ago. By the way, Dan says he's going to keep it professional moving forward. I don't know what he means, but also what show is he trying to keep it professional on? This one? We don't keep it professional.
Was he telling us to keep it professional?
Oh, I don't know. No, he's saying will. I assume that means he will. Well, I'm not going to keep it professional.
Yeah,
that's why I do this show.
Yeah, especially on Facebook. We're not on the radio anymore, but we can't say certain things. We can say whatever.
Well, he originally asked how the staff got to attend today's show. So maybe that's. Oh, I get it. I get where he's going with this.
That's another show on another network.
He's talking about mustache.
Yeah,
he's talking about mustache rides.
We can't put that show on Facebook. That might be more of a
mustache ride. Yeah, that's fine, Dan. Who cares? Really? Have you seen this show? Nobody cares. Oh man. I guess we'll stick with Major League Baseball. We're gonna move on from the White Sox though. So speaking of, I was gonna say this is the best segue ever. Thanks, Dan. Because Major League Baseball has a sticky stuff problem, and by that I mean illegal substances being used by their pitchers. So here's what's going on right now. If you haven't been paying attention, there's an old school way of mixing pine tar with sunscreen. And kind of using it and you put some in your glove and it actually gives you a better grip on the baseball. Well, the key there is one of the big analytic things is spin rate. Spin rate on your slider, spin rate on your curveball, all that kind of stuff. And so people have been looking at spin rate, but they've also been looking at how these pitchers are getting their spin rate. And apparently, some of that seems to be from illegal substances. Trevor Bauer, who has spoken out against some of these substances, has been accused, as well as Garrett Cole. And the funny thing is, after a couple of minor leaguers got suspended recently, the spin rate of Trevor Bauer, Garrett Cole, among others, went down pretty exponentially compared to what they were doing before. And it was only one or two starts, so people were like, "Well, small sample size," but also convenient that it happened right after minor leaguers started getting suspended. So the league wants to crack down on this, and you see managers kind of, "Oh, hey, take a look at his glove," kind of a thing. We're going back to the old George Brett, might have too much pine tar on his bat, which never made any sense. This is one of the goofiest things I've ever seen in my life. But either way,
the best though.
Yeah, that is one of the best reactions ever. Hi Penelope, can the league really hold the moral high ground considering they've changed how the baseballs are made specifically to affect offense and or pitching over the last couple of years?
No, I mean, do we want to talk about steroids? So we're just going to sweep that one under the rug because it was offense.
And I wasn't even going to bring that one up because that was just a whole different story.
Well, but this is the difference, right? People think strikeouts are boring. Obviously, the more pitches you throw, the longer the game is going to. Come on, get out of here with this garbage. We all know what's happening, but all of a sudden they're going to come out and try to police it. How are they going to police it? Everybody wants to talk about these length of games. What are you going to do? Go out there every inning and check the glove, check the. I think they made the. Was it a start against the White Sox where they made the guy change his hat? Like, how much time are you going to waste on this? Like, it's hot garbage. I don't care. We all know that they do this stuff. Look,
it's funny. It's funny because I didn't want to go the steroid route because I have gone on rants of this before. How it's incredibly stupid to me, like beyond dumb, that you had a commissioner knowing what was going on in the league for steroids. Throw everybody under the bus after that when people started questioning what was going on and end up in the Hall of Fame. But the players who he enabled to do that suddenly aren't allowed in the Hall of Fame.
Well, and you encouraged it because your game was about to go down the drain. When all that happened, your game was about to be done because of the strike, and it needed something so that, we'll just turn the blind eye to this. Go ahead, go hit dingers.
Yeah, when it was no longer convenient, we're going to throw everybody else under the bus, but I'm going to come out looking aces,
Can I just say, Rob Manfred is a complete joke. I'm sorry, but this guy needs to go. Like, he's got no idea what he's doing with this league. He's got no idea how to run it, how to police it, pretty much how to do anything. I'm sorry, but this guy's a moron.
Well, they can all say we're all making money. That's how Goodell still has a job. He makes some money. That's all that matters.
Well, guess what? And everybody's about to spend their money too, because guess what? Guess what I want to go do now that I'm vaccinated and the parks are open? I want to go watch a baseball game, and I've been to a Sox game. It's fun. It's nice to be out there. So people are going to go spend their money. It has nothing to do with what you're doing as a commissioner.
Yeah. So this goes along the lines of I don't necessarily have an issue with this, and here's why. I have said before that I had a huge issue with the Houston Astros whole garbage can, whatever they were doing was ridiculous. And my biggest problem with it wasn't even just like a teammate and a teammate, meaning a guy on second base stealing a catcher's signs, relaying them to the hitter in real time, and the hitter was taking that information and figuring things out. Okay, that's one thing. I mean, it is what it is. If a guy can figure out your signs and he has the time to relay it to the batter, and the batter can do something with that information, correct. When it got to like technology and we've got video boards and we've got a guy in the stands doing this and that, and we're gonna start signaling you from the dugout and all of this stuff, one for bad, two for good, like we're in Rain Man, whatever it is. I take issue with that because it's less about you're bringing technology into it, you're bringing all these other things. I don't necessarily have an issue with a pitcher throwing just a little something in his glove, and it's still, man on man. It's still one on one. It's still the little game that they play. There are lines here, and I don't mean like unwritten rules lines, because we could go off on a tangent for weeks. But I it's close. It's close to the line, because it's obviously a banned substance.
Well, my
But you know
question
what?
is,
But you know what? There's so many of these guys using this. And if you saw the interview from the minor leaguers, I don't have it to pull up right now, but they had a couple minor leaguers that were basically saying this is encouraged by our managers, basically saying, look, it's kind of like steroids or like HGH or whatever it is. Well, everyone's kind of doing it, so am I going to be the one that's left out? And I hate to say this, I hate to compare it to this, but it's kind of like doping and cycling, how it was in the late 90s. Like, everybody was kind of doing it, so you're the guy that's stuck behind.
How is it an advantage if everybody's doing it? And
right.
It turns into, it's not an advantage if you're not doing it. But I wonder because remember when the steroid things were coming out, you had players that were coming out and saying, well, this wasn't fair. This guy, or the pitchers coming out,
Sure.
These guys are on steroids. You just.
That's all right. Roger Clemens was doing roids too, wasn't he?
Probably among other things, but that's another segment for another day. But like, when does that come out where, other guys that are stuck in the minors that can't get out because they can't hit all of a sudden? Oh, well.
And I get all that.
It's because they were, but so about it. Like, it's
Matt, what's the answer? Is it Wild West? Just let everybody do whatever the hell they want?
I mean, look, everybody knows that it's going on. You might as well just make everybody aware of it so they can't use the excuse. Right? Like, stop playing games like it's somehow going to stop, because guess what? These guys are going to get smarter. They're going to figure out other ways. They're going to come out with clear substances that you can't see on the jersey or on the hat. It's not going to stop.
So, but what do we do? Like, what does Major League Baseball do? Because they obviously have no problem changing their own rules to suit whatever they think is best. Do they lower the mound? Do they move the mound back? Like, here's the biggest problem. And I think it's mentality. The biggest problem is mentality.
Yeah.
Because no matter what a pitcher throws up there, these guys are swinging at it. They're swinging at everything. Because, well, if I strike out, it's okay. If I walk, it's okay. Or if I hit a home run, it's okay. You're going to go with your true outcomes. Personally, I hate watching baseball like that. Call me, tell me the get off my lawn. I don't care. Baseball is not fun to watch if guys are swinging out of their shoes, Javi Baez style. I love Javi Baez when he's on the field. I love the Almago stuff, which we'll actually get to a story from that in a minute. I love that. What I hate watching him do is swing at a pitch that bounced 4 feet in front of the plate because he made up his mind that he was going to swing, and he was going to swing as hard as he could. Yeah. Like, that's not baseball. That's just a guy going up there. You might as well put a blindfold on him.
That's like me or you going up there. Just
exactly.
Guessing. Like, it's
put a blindfold on him and do the old Houston Astros thing where if I bang on a garbage can, that means the pitcher's releasing the ball. You should just swing. Swing a half a second after that, and you'll probably make contact. Like, who cares about that? That's boring baseball. It's garbage. And you can tell me, well, he's going to hit the ball 500 feet. I don't care. What I want to see is guys making contact with the ball. Put the ball in play.
Well, and this
part of analytics is batting average on balls in play, and people don't care. They don't pay attention to it.
There you go. That's why MLB is going to try to police it, because fans want to see action. I mean, other than a no-hitter or a perfect game, do you want to go to a game and watch everybody strike out? Probably not.
No, it's unwatchable.
Yeah. So that's why they're policing it. That's the only reason they're policing it.
But that's my question. So what does Major League Baseball do? Do they want to see more offense? Do they want to take the game out of the hands of pitchers? Of course
they want to see more offense. That's you talked about the ball.
But I don't mean just home runs. I mean, do they want to give hitters a better chance to make contact by moving the mound back or lowering it, to take the advantage away from pitchers, especially if they're going to use this garbage for spin rate and that kind of stuff. Because if you move it back, the hitter has more time to see the spin. They have more time to figure out where that ball is going to go and so on. Same thing if it loses a little velocity by the time it gets there. you're going to enable the hitters to be, to a certain extent, better, but only as far as their approach allows them to take it. I mean, is that the plan?
I'm sure that's all in play when the season. Well, who knows? Maybe in the middle of the season, because they just seem to be doing whatever they want now, as far as changing rules whenever they see fit. I mean, yeah, I think all those things are on the table. I mean, obviously they're identifying this as a problem, right? Because they don't like the way that the games are going.
Because it's a problem they can't control.
They don't, and
they can control how the ball is made.
We don't, they don't like all the no hitters, and obviously this is making more sense now. We talked about this. What is it? They have one more to get, and they tie the record for
they tie
no
the
record for a season.
Because they're not counting Madison Bumgarner's, because otherwise they've actually already tied the record.
Garbage.
Which another argument for another day.
Again, but there's my point of they're just changing rules however they see fit and doing what they want, right?
And don't get me wrong. I love 7-inning doubleheaders. I think that's a great idea. But the problem is you can't change the fundamental aspects of the game and then complain in other areas where the fundamental aspects of the game are being changed. You've got people bitching about putting a guy on second base. That is in extra innings. That's less of a fundamental change to the game than knocking off 2 entire innings. You know what I'm saying? Like, throwing a guy on second base is nothing compared to removing 60 or 15% of the game.
To me, it's all hot garbage. But I don't even know why you needed to mess with it. Like, I think what the problem with baseball is, and I know we didn't mean to get off this tangent. The problem with baseball is, and this is just my opinion, people with these networks where you can't watch the games, and the Cubs are one of them, right? With their network, you're alienating fans, you're blacking out games, you're doing everything you can to exclude people from watching your game.
I think we should file a discrimination lawsuit. They're discriminating against us because we can't afford marquee.
Oh, and
also they suddenly can't afford anything, even though when marquee gets here, when our station gets here, it's going to be like Scrooge McDuck. We're going to be diving into our own pool of money.
But think about how awful that all turned out because of the panic. And it could have been so much better because now people couldn't go to games, and you could have made the prices lower to get more people to have the network. Again, we could talk about that, but that was so incredibly.
They can cry me a river with all the money they're not making.
Exactly, but that whole thing was so incredibly botched. But again, you're making it harder for people to get into the game. And again, old man staring, yelling at cloud. Like when we were kids, dude, like baseball was it, right? Baseball was appointment television. We would go home and watch baseball. I don't know kids that are doing that. It's all about basketball now. Basketball's got that's where like the younger generation, that's what they're paying attention to. Baseball is so far gone, and now you're going to try to do all these gimmicky things to try to get people to like, no, you just make it watchable so people can actually watch it. That makes any sense. Make it available. Stop with the blackout. Stop with the blackout BS.
Well, not only the blackout stuff, but just highlights. You can't even get highlights anywhere unless you what do they used to say? Unless you have the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Wasn't that their disclaimer? I mean, they're so far stuck in 1960. It's absolutely brutal. I want to stick with.
They need to get rid of Rob Manfred. I think he's hot garbage.
We're going to stick with baseball for just a quick second, just because I want to talk about this, because the Pirates are they're generationally bad, and they make some stupid plays. So the Pirates have had 2 pretty large boneheaded plays this year, and they're within weeks of each other. So for anyone who follows the Cubs, you might have seen I was joking about the El Mago thing, or not if you don't have marquee. But basically, Javi ended up with like an infield quote unquote double. It wasn't really a double, but he grounded. It's just ridiculous. The ball ends up, to the first baseman, who is standing in front of the base, not on the base, because he charged it. So Javi stops. He stops at first, or before he gets to first, and he starts coming back down the first baseline towards home plate. Meanwhile, Wilson Contreras, who was on second, rounds second and continues coming home. And so Javi's hung up just waiting, to either be tagged, and he's slowly coming back, slowly coming back. The first baseman doesn't even really charge him. He's just kind of trotting along behind him. Goes to throw home now because Contreras is trying to score and doesn't throw in time. Javi has enough time to mimic the home plate umpire by calling Wilson Contreras safe. And then realizes that the first baseman who was chasing him down the line is obviously nowhere near first base, nor is the pitcher. So he runs to first base. The catcher who has the ball then throws the ball to the pitcher who's running to cover. And I mean, this is like, it's like who's on first, what's on second, I don't know, is on third. Like, so he throws the ball pretty much into right field. So Javi now takes second. They throw the ball away again, but he can't advance. So, okay, Pirates, stupid play number one, confusing. Either tag him out or just go back. There were 2 outs in the inning. Either tag him out, or if he's going backwards, just go to first base and step on it. Okay, fine. Yesterday or 2 days ago, Brian Hayes hits a home run, okay? And as the ball is it's going along down the foul pole, he's not sure if it's a home run, so he's kind of looking at it. He's kind of straying away from the first baseline. It hits the foul pole, so it's a home run, and Brian Hayes rounds the bases. He then gets called out because the Dodgers appeal at first base and challenge the fact that he didn't touch first. He missed first base. Now, the funny thing about this is I've seen this happen before. I cannot recall it happening in the major leagues, but I coached a travel baseball team once, 12 years old. We were actually in the championship game for this league, and one of our kids hit a home run. I was coaching first base, rounded first. I saw him miss first base. I didn't say anything. Kid rounds, goes all the way around, touches home. And the other team was aware enough to appeal at first base. Umpire calls him out. There's a whole side story of the kid's dad who ended up on the field somehow screaming at umpires and coaches and all kinds of stuff.
How are you going to make that the side story? Come on.
We actually, well, come on. That's another story. And by we I mean myself and the other coach of our team, actually got him thrown out of the game, thrown out of the field because he was just a raving lunatic. But I've seen it happen. But also that kid was 12 and didn't really understand the repercussions of what was happening there. So he got a home run taken away from him. But you're talking about the major leagues here. How do you miss a base?
I mean,
although I will say this, I just remembered Mark McGwire missed first base when he hit the 62nd home run, didn't he?
That sounds
because
familiar.
He rounded first and then he took 2 steps back. He rounded first and I want to say, who was it? Mark Grace was playing first and shook his hand and he kind of skipped over first base. So he went back. He took 2 or 3 steps back to touch first. And technically, I think the Cubs could appeal that and get him called out, which would have been hilariously ridiculous on the 62nd record-breaking home run. But I'm pretty sure if anyone's out there watching the show and they recall this, I'm pretty sure Mark McGwire missed first base. But he at least went back and touched it and then kept going. But I mean, here you go. Here's Pirates going to pirate, kind of a thing.
I think the fielding, the rundown is worse because I was waiting for and we always joke about the circus music. You could have just put it on. It would have been perfect because that was just such a circus play. I don't understand
100%.
how you do that. Missing first again. I would like to think that if I ever hit a major league homer, that I would be very cognizant of touching all the bases because that's part of the trot. You hit all the bases, you take your time. You enjoy that, right?
Yeah.
I don't quite understand how you miss a base, but
he was actually running almost full speed at one point because he wasn't sure if it was a home run or if it hit the wall.
Okay, so that makes it more understandable.
And so I kind of got it because he was looking down the right field line to see if it was A, fair, and B, staying in the park. And so he was I kind of get it.
Okay, so yeah,
it's still a Pirates,
but it's still hilarious
that
you hit a home run, you miss, and you're out because you missed a base. I get it, but at least the intention was there that I'm going to run this play out, not that I'm just
Well, yeah, I think that's the key there. I give him actually more credit for running
exactly.
than
Yeah, like,
what
it
we
wasn't
see from some guys who the ball lands 14 feet short of the wall, and these guys are trotting. They still haven't made it to first. We've running out of a bit of time here, so we're gonna kind of lightning round it. But real quick, I did want to talk about the Bears. If you're just joining the show, this is the Weekend Wake Up. I'm Vito. That's Matt. Kyrie could not join us today, but he will likely be joining us again in the near future. So the Bears held their voluntary OTAs, and they had a bunch of no-shows because they're voluntary, and I get it. You know, these guys aren't really getting paid for this. I mean, they're getting paid, but they're not getting paid for the voluntary OTAs. But only one of the projected 11 defensive starters showed up, and that guy was Roquan Smith, who's probably becoming the best linebacker on the team. I mean, would they have Khalil Mack? I totally understand that. But as far as overall linebacker, Roquan had a pretty damn good year last year. And he's the one of the 11 projected starters that showed up. I understand seasoned vets, kind of missing. I get it. They've earned that right, whatever you want to call it. But where are the young guys? Where's Jalen Johnson? Where's Eddie Jackson? I mean, Eddie Jackson's only been in the league for 4 years now, right? So where are these guys? My biggest problem is you have a new defensive coordinator, and while he came from the tree of the old defensive coordinator, I understand that. Your team has been mediocre for 2 years. Could they not use more work together under a new defensive coordinator? They're mostly young. Do you have any issues with this, Matt?
I mean, not really. I mean, I think this is more in response to the additional game that they have to play, that they're not going to give them any time, that, the league, I'm saying, is they. Look, these players are being forced to play another game. Why would they show up when they don't have to be there? Why risk injury? I would like to think that they're still in the building, putting in some kind of work together, so they're still building that chemistry. But I get your point. And if I don't know if you can hear my dog, I apologize, but
man, he's freaking out over there.
It must be the mailman. But but yeah, I don't have any issues with this. Now, again, if they come out and play like hot garbage, I don't think this is it's not like when they didn't play anybody in preseason. I don't think
it's a little different there.
Yeah,
but that did have repercussions.
Well, it did, but
they wouldn't admit that, but it did have repercussions.
Well, of course it did. But I don't think this is a situation where, God forbid, if the Bears defense regresses again, that they could be like, well, you didn't come to OTAs, so you ruined our season. It's OTAs. I'm not concerned. Would I like to see guys like Eddie Jackson out there? Yeah, because obviously he's been pretty mediocre, and that's putting it nicely for the past couple of years. I think those guys need work. But in the event that they get injured or something happens, the negatives of that are going to far outweigh the positives of them being at these OTAs. So for now,
I understand the injury thing. You and I, we've had that conversation before too about what's the risk reward. And to your original point, I think that they were there. They weren't on the field, but they were doing videos or classrooms or whatever they do now, especially now in the Zoom era of the world.
Well, are they still doing Zooms though? Are they allowed?
I think they were, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so then maybe it would be a good idea to be in person together.
I just think the more reps you get, and I understand we're 6 months away, or not 6 months, maybe 4 months away from the meat of the season. Yeah. But the more reps you get, especially these young guys, with a new defensive coordinator and so on, it can't hurt, can it?
No,
outside of the actual injury, thing, but that's fine. We'll see. It's one of those. I hate using this term because I feel like it gets overused, especially on topics like sports topics. You go through a whole topic and then you're like, well, we'll see. But I feel like that's pretty much what you have to do with these Bears, because what we've seen in the past hasn't been really all that great. But you've got a lot of new variables with this team on this particular year. So it's almost, you kind of just have to wait and see. It's not We have a, you have a new left tackle. You probably have a new right tackle. You have maybe have a new quarterback, all this other stuff. So
I don't think anybody knows what the Bears are going to be. Obviously, with all the Aaron Rodgers stuff going on in Green Bay, I don't think anybody knows what they're going to be. That's going to have, repercussions for the Bears and what they're expected to do. I don't know. This whole Bears season is a mystery. I've never been so confused going into a season as far as what I expect out of this team.
Hey Matt, by the way, I just wanted to give you a heads up. Hoops open behind me. The court's available, so you got next. If you want to hop by, just let me know. I'll take you down.
I'm sure you will. Does that raise it all, or can you put that down?
It can, but why would we?
So it's not regulation size?
No, it is regulation size, but just not the regulations you're thinking of.
I mean, I've got the same hoop in different colors. Like, we could ball out.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You can bring your hoop over, and we'll set up a full court.
Like, let's do it, baby.
We'll set up full court. I get Penny on my team though. She's a baller. She's a baller. She just runs up to the hoop and goes, "Put it in the hoop," and then dunks it. So she knows what's up. We're going to move on to our final segment. It's a new segment. Get excited, Matt. The name of the segment is...
I'm always excited to be here.
...is Unsanctioned Buffoonery. And I thought it was really fitting for a show that either I run or I'm on. And, Matt, I don't know how you feel about this, but if we named the segment Unsanctioned Buffoonery, it just could not be more perfect for us. So I thought about making the Pittsburgh Pirates Unsanctioned Buffoonery because I cannot sanction the buffoonery going on in Pittsburgh that they're calling baseball. But I think the best part about this week's Unsanctioned Buffoonery is we're actually going to talk about boxing. Well, boxing in quotes. And boxing requires a sanctioning body. We are not going to be that sanctioning body for the boxing we're going to talk about. I cannot sanction what we're about to delve into here. And it's celebrity boxing matches. So recently, within the past 2 weeks, we've had Floyd Mayweather fight Logan Paul. And if you don't know who Logan Paul is, that's because he's a YouTube star. Yes, those are things. We've had Lamar Odom fight Aaron Carter.
Oh, God.
And if you don't remember who they are, there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
and a couple months ago, we had Ben Askren, who's an MMA fighter, fight Jake Paul. And by fight, I mean box.
Fight.
And Jake Paul is the brother of Logan Paul, who, again, they're both YouTube stars. These pay-per-views made millions of dollars. What the hell is going on here, Matthew? How are people paying for this garbage?
Well, so like the Ben Askren Jake Paul one, that's going to make money because people want to see Jake Paul lose. And I don't know what happened in that fight. I've got my own theories. That looks staged as hell to me, with Ben Askren just going in there, taking a dive, keeping the legend of Jake Paul alive, because once Jake Paul loses, this is all over with.
Well, Jake Paul hasn't fought a boxer.
I get that. I get it.
And I'm not a big staged. I'm not a big guy.
On.
But listen.
Okay.
Ben Askren has eaten some huge fists with 4-ounce gloves on in UFC and in MMA in general. And he's lived to tell the tale. You cannot tell me that he just walked out there, ate a couple shots from, internet sensation Jake Paul and was out for the count. Like
the whole thing was sketchy as hell because yes, like you're saying.
Of course it was. There's YouTube stars involved.
He gets up. He looks at the ref.
Right.
He says, "I'm fine," but the ref still waves it off. Why are they doing that? Because they need to protect Jake Paul so they can make them. Triller will go out of business once one of these guys just gets their ass kicked.
Just stop. Triller will go out of business. That's the end of that sentence.
But so the next one of these, and I'm sorry, out of all three, and look, you're probably gonna yell at me, but I will give some credit to these guys, meaning Logan Paul and Jake Paul, that they actually go and they train. I get it; they're not fighting anybody, but to some extent, they are taking this seriously. They are going to train. They're at least trying. the garbage that was on yesterday with Lamar Odom and Aaron Carter.
I didn't see it.
Like I saw the highlights of it, and aesthetically, it's a circus freak show because Lamar Odom's like what 6'7", ex-basketball players. He's a big guy, tall guy. Then you got little Aaron Carter, who used to be in some kind of boy band, I would assume. That just you would never see these guys fight in an actual boxing match.
Wait, hold on. Which one is Aaron Carter, Jen? Which one? Who's Aaron Carter?
Seriously?
Yeah. Is he in BSB?
No, that was Nick Carter.
Oh, Nick Carter was in Backstreet Boys. Aaron Carter is the younger
what's
brother.
Aaron Carter?
As well.
He was a singer too.
You don't remember Aaron Carter?
What was he in?
His self.
Wait, are we supposed
He
to
was in
remember?
himself. She said himself.
Including myself.
Himself.
Oh, he was by himself,
Yes.
including myself, Ed Belfour. He was by himself. Okay, so wait a second. Sorry, I apologize to everyone watching this that I'm talking to
Apparently
someone
we
off
need to know
camera.
who Aaron Carter is.
But I need to know who Aaron Carter is. By the way, I apologize to Kyrie because I do realize that he joined the show on YouTube while we were talking Bears, and I did not see his comments. So I'll get to those in just a minute. So Kyrie, if you're still on, thank you. I apologize I did not get to your comments. But this is unsanctioned buffoonery, and it needs to continue. Okay, so Aaron Carter was by himself. He is Nick Carter's younger brother. Nick Carter of Backstreet Boys.
Correct.
So how is he a celebrity?
This is like 6
can
degrees
somebody
of Kevin Bacon.
so how is he a celebrity? Can someone explain this?
Okay,
to me?
hold on. She's showing me a video here. He's 12. Was he 12?
He still looks 12.
Maybe 14.
What year was this?
I was.
The name of the song is Aaron's Party, Come and Get It.
Yep.
Okay.
Make noise.
So which is the one? Didn't one of them have
11 years ago.
have like a drug problem?
I think that was him. Or both of them.
They both had a drug problem.
Classy.
Okay. So we figured that out.
And then so did
Aaron
Lamar
Carter. So wait. So yeah. Okay. So it was that's why they put this fight together because they're both recovering drug addicts. I don't.
No, but because they both need money, and that's what's so sad about it. Is that
I hope it's not, and I'm being completely serious here. I hope they don't need money to because they're not recovering anymore and they have
just
personal problems because that's a real issue. If people actually, and I'm going to use this word again, if people actually sanctioned this fight to pay them money to enable their issues,
but
I
wait,
have
there's
a
more.
big problem with that.
Wait, there's more with this fight. The special guest, and I'm going to say special guest referee, like this is a WWF pay-per-view, was Chuck Liddell.
Oh boy!
So you have Chuck Liddell in there with Lamar Odom and Aaron Carter.
He was the ref.
He was the ref.
Look, let me put it to you this way, Matt. At least he was the ref because the last time we saw Chuck Liddell, he was in another sanctioned fight.
Yeah, with Tito.
That should not have happened. By the way, Jen says Aaron Carter, that video was in what?
2000.
2000.
He sold 3 million copies.
So how old is he now?
33.
He's 33 now. Okay.
I looked up all that information.
So she spent this entire time looking up the information.
At least somebody's doing some research on
Penny,
the show.
Penny's over here breaking windows, but Jen's looking up Aaron Carter when this song came out.
It's because she wants to ball. You're
You're
messing up her hoop.
She did the what's it? Chris Paul State Farm commercial. She launched that ball. Who was that? Alfonso Ribeiro. Yeah.
Carlton.
Carlton. Yeah. So
Well,
I just so speaking of unsanctioned buffoonery, when this show goes off the rails, how are we enabling this to continue? Like, okay, I got it when it was MTV Claymation Celebrity Deathmatch. I got it. Like that made sense to me. That was funny, okay. But then you ended up with who else did these fights? Dustin Diamond did a fight before he passed away. Dustin Diamond was Screech from Saved by the Bell.
I was trying to figure out who did he fight.
Who did he fight? Danny Bonaducci.
Oh God.
Danny Bonaducci, Dustin Diamond. Like why? I just.
But like, where's all this money
so
coming
far
from?
Beyond.
People
buy the pay-per-views.
What? Like, okay, so I get the Ben Askren and Jake Paul one. You have your heel, you have your face, right? You have your heel for Jake Paul, You have
Wait.
your face.
You're comparing. I understand.
Yes,
I would
yes,
rather.
yes,
No, you know what?
yes. I'm going pro wrestling.
Don't
Yes.
you besmirch the good name of pro wrestling by comparing this circus to anything that pro wrestling has done. Because you know what? It took a long time, but
I found your trigger.
pro wrestling knows who they are, okay? At this point, it took a long time to get there, but pro wrestling knows who they are.
I found your trigger.
I don't think it's
great.
Here's the best part. Jen goes, we're talking about Dustin Diamond and Danny Bonaducci, and she goes, they had beef. What? What are you talking about?
All right, look, dude, we've been doing this show for a while, and this may be the most off the rails it's ever been.
I am so glad that we started this segment called Unsanctioned Buffoonery.
So
nothing epitomizes this show more than this segment, and nothing really explains who we are more than us trying to figure out how celebrity boxing matches are a thing, and more importantly, how they make money.
Well, but this is how they make money. This is my point. People wanted to see
point to this
somewhere. I'm trying to get there. People wanted to see Ben Askren just kick the living crap out of Jake Paul, right? Because
I really thought you were going to say Ben Affleck.
Him too.
Oh man,
him and his horrible Batman, but that's another.
Don't you knock Affleck's Batman?
Anyways,
it's not the best, but it's not the worst.
You had guys coming out that wanted to see Jake Paul just get planted because you thought that was going to happen, right? He's got no business in the ring with. Well, then Ben Askren takes a dive, and I thought that might be the end of it. Dude, come on, there was a dive.
The only thing we're short of is Nicolas Cage doing the investigation on him taking a dive. Did you ever see Snake Eyes?
No, dude, you know that's a Fast and Furious plot line right there. What are you doing? Come on now.
What? Who took a dive in Fast and Furious?
Yeah. No, that whole thing is a Fast and Furious plot line. Like, who took the dive? They got to figure it out. Like, they're gonna rob somebody. Like,
you know what? You know who always
where did
wins?
All the money? Where did all
Doesn't
the money
matter
go?
who takes a dive. You know who always wins? Family. Family always wins.
Don't forget, Vin Diesel never knocked on nobody.
Yeah, I never knocked on nobody.
Best scene in a movie ever.
Oh man. Okay.
I never even got to make my point.
I'm sorry. There was a point to this?
Yeah, dude, so people will buy these because they want to see the one guy get knocked out. What I was confused about was the Floyd Mayweather Logan Paul. I was actually rooting for a double knockout in that one because I think that they both just need to get destroyed. Right?
Have you ever seen the movie? Have you ever seen the movie Sergeant Bilko with Steve Martin?
I think, but I can't. It's been a while.
So the only reason I thought of that is because he it's a comedy, but he rigs an army boxing match, and he pays off one of the guys, but the guy he gives the money to give to the boxer, he gives it to the other guy. So they both think they're taking a dive, and there's a scene, and they just do nothing. The boxing match is like they do nothing for like 3 rounds, and then someone throws a punch, and then he throws a punch like really lightly, and they both fall down. And that's what I envisioned your vision for Mayweather Paul.
I wanted some heat behind both those punches and actually see those guys go unconscious because they're.
You wanted the end of Rocky 2.
But were they?
Or I'm sorry, Rocky 3.
Yeah, but
you wanted where they.
But I wanted to see the punch. I wanted to see the follow through and the aftermath.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they're both garbage human beings, in my opinion. So.
Yeah. No. Floyd Mayweather is one of the worst people, like just as a person on the planet. I will say this, and people give me crap for this. He's still the best defensive technical boxer in the history of the sport.
He's the Forrest Gump of boxing.
That doesn't take away from the fact that he's a garbage human being. And unfortunately, or fortunately, fortunately, we've run out of time on today's show. I just can't. I want to get to what Kyrie said real quick. We were talking about the Bears, and Kyrie threw in.
Oh, we have to be serious.
By the way, Bears might not be good this year, but they'll be so much more watchable, which unfortunately might mean Nagy and Pace are back. So I figured let's end the show on a downer since we just had way too much fun for the last 10 minutes. Kyrie reminding us of what we already knew. Unfortunately, we're going to have to deal with this Bears organization for a bit longer.
And that's what we miss when Kyrie's not on the show is, professionalism.
Keeping us grounded.
Because, we just spent way more time than we needed to talking about fake boxing matches, and it was fun.
Yeah, well, but you know what? I think Unsanctioned Buffoonery was a fantastic segment, and I think it deserves a spot.
Would anybody pay to watch one of us fight, you think? Like you with a mustache, maybe? Like, could we get you in a you're a celebrity, right? We're celebrity. We're on YouTube right now.
Yeah, I don't really.
Okay, so who would you guys want to see Vito fight?
Okay, yeah, no, I like it.
Like if we were going to do a celebrity boxing match,
jump in the comments.
Who would we want to see Vito fight?
Or just comment on the video. Who do you want to see me fight?
Like my first.
Who would you pay to see me fight? Jen says me. No. We're not talking about domestic issues over here.
Yeah. That's why we don't like fight, but we don't want you.
I can't fight my own fiance. That's really not going to work out very well for me, no matter what happens.
It would have to be somebody with another iconic
Penny
mustache.
thought it was funny. Someone else with an iconic mustache, huh?
Yes. It would be like the Battle of the Stash.
Like loser, me and Joel Quenneville?
Yes, like loser loses stash. And is never allowed to grow it back ever again.
I think it would probably be Quenneville would probably knock me out. I think it'd be a better fight if I fought Mike Ditka.
Why? Because he's like 70 and can't stand? Like, that's not fair.
Exactly. He's 70 and can't stand. And also, he's kind of a garbage person, too. Like, again.
Wait, does Bobby Hull have a mustache?
No, Bobby Hull doesn't have a mustache. Maybe
can we give him a mustache just for
the fight? We can tape one on. We'll give him the whole disguise. I'll knock Bobby Hull's ass out. No question. No question. Even though he was a hockey player, he's like 60 years removed from playing hockey. So
you gotta feel
I like my chances. We'll think of somebody.
Jump on the Facebook page, guys, and I want to know who you would want to see Vito.
I'll put it up as a poll question. on the page. And then hi Penelope.
Hi Penny.
Can you wave? Yeah. No, she's over it.
She's like, dude, I got next. Get off my court.
You guys aren't worth the energy of me lifting my arm to wave my hand at you. All right, Matthew. Great show, I guess. I don't know. We had a good time though. That's all that really matters.
I had fun.
Join us again.
You think Kyrie's watching this and being like, yeah, see, this is why I didn't
that's why he stopped chat. He's probably still watching. He just stopped chatting because he's like, I can't enable this.
My name
Speaking of unsanctioned buffoonery, this is Kyrie's unsanctioned buffoonery. He cannot sanction what's happening on this show right now. So
No.
I want to thank everyone for joining us and commenting. Kyrie, I know you couldn't make it today, but thanks for commenting, throwing your comments in there. Anthony, Danny, everyone who was watching the show at some point or another. Join the show Saturdays, 10:30 Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all of the above, and join us again for Unsanctioned Buffoonery because that was something. It was something. I'll just leave it at that. For Matt Moore, I'm Vito Avenanti. Have a great weekend, everyone.
See you guys.